Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. Today is what, Benny? I can't even see that. The 25th?
Today is the 25th. It is my oldest daughter's birthday today. Tiresias Maximus.
We see this Maximus. Anywho, happy birthday, Tyrese. Um, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
And I am Tyrese's dad. My name is Ben Dickerson. I am your co-host also. And guess what? Just like last week, I got some who would have thunk it's again. Now I'm going to read some of these to you. My handwriting is really bad, so if I stumble over my own handwriting, please excuse me. But I want to make sure I get these right. Number one, Sam Darnold is still undefeated with the Vikings, and he leads the league in touchdown passes with 8. This is after 3 games of the season. 8 touchdown passes, leads the league. Justin Fields and the Steelers are also still undefeated, and he's only thrown 2 touchdown passes. Who would have thunk it? Sam Darnold and Justin Fields. 2 cast-offs, I believe they were called by some folks. Now, here's a big one. This is big. Jaden Daniels, in his 3rd NFL game, set an NFL rookie record 91.3% completion percentage. That's incredible. That's a rookie record, NFL rookie record. Another record is he has multi-touchdown passes, multiple touchdown runs, and no interceptions in his first 3 games. Also a rookie record. Washington, the Washington Commanders, his team, has scored on every drive over the last 2 games, excluding 2 kneel downs before the half and 1 kneel down at the end of a game. So every time they got the ball, they put points on the board through 2 consecutive games. And they have no punts and no turnovers in 2 consecutive games. That's incredible. It's unheard. I've never heard of that.
Well, you have this segment, and I don't have a name for mine, but I did want to say that we probably want to at least acknowledge and congratulate ourselves because we're the ones who said that's your number 1 quarterback this year, right there.
Absolutely.
You know, now
Yes.
you mentioned last week when we talked a little bit about that, about, had this quarterback gone to that team instead, you know what I mean? If Caleb was with the Commanders, would he have that type of success,
Right.
with Jaden? But the field, the pocket presence combined with the ability to run is at an unheard level with him. And I think that's kind of what we liked about him. We're looking at guys ready to take the step up to the pros, and if
Right.
you ask a pro, he loves the ability to run, but he wants you to remain in the, to use that pocket. Let's face it, how much money do they invest in their offensive line?
Right.
Invest all that money. I don't want you just running away from the pocket. These guys standing looking at you. So, long story short, we look like geniuses, on that one anyway. There's 1 out
Yeah.
of a million, but hey, we'll take the 1.
Oh, yeah. We'll take the 1.
We'll take
And
the
the really great thing I think that really bodes well for him in his future is even though he is a bona fide dual threat quarterback, unlike most who actually lean on their running ability and have success throwing the ball, he's been leaning on his passing ability.
well,
He's
yeah,
shown great pocket presence.
absolutely. But he runs that option. He ran that option so good, he basically tiptoed into the end zone because he had the whole defense going, with the fake handoff. You know,
Right. That's a skill that a lot of fans don't really pay a lot of attention to. Um, Ball handling. Lamar Jackson is also pretty wizard like with ball handling skills. Mahomes is the same way. The way these guys can tuck it, pull it, fake it, and all that stuff. That's a unique skill that everybody doesn't have.
So he's emerging in the NFC East.
Yes.
Sudden, the Commanders can't be an afterthought anymore.
Bro, there was maybe two people that I can remember, and I can't even remember exactly who they were, but I think I heard it twice over the multitude of analysts that talked about the upcoming season. Two people said, "You heard it here first. The Washington Commanders are going to win the NFC East," and everybody else looked at them like, "Yeah, but guess what? It's crazy."
The touchdown that he threw
To McLaurin,
to Scary Terry in the corner, right?
yes,
We were talking about his offensive coordinator,
Cliff
who,
Kingsbury,
right, who ran the, what's it called again?
air raid.
Air raid, where that communication happens. Where's the green grass? I'm wondering now, are we saying that is he running the air
No,
raid option slash?
this is a modified air raid. I think Cliff Kingsbury has tweaked his college air raid offense quite a bit after not being able to make it work the way he wanted to with Kyler Murray. It's a better system now, but
Well,
he has definitely worked on it and changed it.
you know what I mean? Or to have someone with, who can
Yeah,
fully operate it, because, what they were saying about that play was that with when the cornerback came up on him, that was his signal to go. Just the fact that he came up on him, right? But they were expecting that he was going to come up on him with inside leverage, but he
okay.
came up on him with outside leverage.
Mm-hmm.
So Scary Terry knew he was supposed to be going to the outside. So he adjusted his route to give him a little fake to the inside and then take it back up on him, kind of on his own. So the fact that they timed it out and were able to hit it the way they did, which I understand had like a 10% chance of success, that pass catch was absolutely amazing. But I'm just thinking about it in terms of Cliff Kingsbury. Is that something that now is in their minds? That's how they think when they're going out and attacking the defense.
Right. Well, every really good wide receiver works on their footwork drills so that they're able to get where they need to go as quickly as possible, depending on the leverage that the defensive back takes against them. So yeah, if he's shading you to the inside and you got to get to the outside and you give him a fake and he doesn't go for it, you still have to be able to get around him and then stem your route back up and get to where you're supposed to be as fast as you can. So, there's a multitude of ways to do it, but they work very hard at that.
All righty, all righty. Well, this segment, Benny, we're going to talk about the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. You ready to look at the rankings?
Yep, sure.
Man, look, there's in the stock market, they would call it volatility.
Huh.
Things are changing. All right, here we go. We're starting off with the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. Let's look at the top group. Well, here you go. As side by side, we have the rankings, the team, and the ANP with your average net points. That's your win margin right there. And then we have it for 1 through 16 on the left, or at least my left, and 17 through 32 on the right. So then let's just take a quick scan. First of all, we see who the top 5 are over here, right? We
Yes.
got Buffalo, 21.3 is their win margin on average. New Orleans, 19.7. That's a drastic change from last week. And we'll talk about why that happened. And then Minnesota, of all teams, right there in third place at 18.3.
The first thing I noticed right off the bat is Minnesota sitting at third, and they were sitting at third last week also. Um, they were 2-0, sitting in third. I did not make note of the actual differential, but I know that they were in third, and they are still there which actually is a good thing because New Orleans was first, and now they are second. Buffalo, I'm not sure where they came from, but they were not in the top three last week. So Buffalo has emerged as the top net point team, and the other two are still hanging in there. The one team that is not hanging in there from last week is the LA Chargers, which I kind of thought they were kind of pretenders considering the first two teams that they played. And sure enough, they have dropped. Well, I'm not going to say drastically. Where they're in fifth now,
Wait,
so
wait,
they went from second to fifth.
wait a minute. Hold on. Did you just call the LA Chargers pretenders?
Early pretenders, yes.
Pretenders.
Yes. As far as net points is concerned, in other words, they played two softies and they ran up the numbers on it. It was a skew.
It's the skew, the old skew.
The skew, yeah, it's the skew.
All right, well, they're tied with Pittsburgh for fifth place at 8.3 net points. And again, you'll see positive numbers and you'll see negative numbers when you do net. So that's important to have keep an eye on. It's a little surprising some of the numbers that are in the negative. If you just switch over real quick, for example, 17 through 25. You see negative numbers there with Chicago being minus 1.3, Baltimore minus 2.3. That's kind of where the surprises are. Now, Washington, as good as they played, still had a close game, so they're minus 3. You know,
Right.
Cincinnati, Dallas, Atlanta, all minus 4, Cleveland minus 5, New England minus 6, and your Giants are minus 6.3. So that takes us down to 25th place. But on the left-hand side, your top 10, right there includes Seattle, the Chargers, Pittsburgh, Arizona, Green Bay, New York Jets, and Kansas City Chiefs. So there's your top group now. Detroit and Philadelphia round out the top 12. Going down just a little bit more, you can see down through 16. Denver, my Niners at plus 1.3. So that's how much we're holding on to being in the positive here. Tampa Bay at 0.7. And then we start with the negative numbers with Indianapolis at -1. As you can see on the other side there, 25 through 32. We talked about the Giants. Texans, I'm surprised at the time. I'm thinking the Texans are having a pretty positive season, and maybe I'm, a little off here, but you can explain a little bit when you do the piece on the matchups later. Las Vegas, Tennessee, the Rams, Miami, Jacksonville, and Carolina. And I can't wait till we talk about Carolina because I just think the whole thing's hilarious there for sure. All right, Benny, let's talk about the scoring. So you won't see any negative numbers here. These are net averages. These are not net points. It's not, plus or minus. All positives. Even if you don't score anything, and you can't go lower than 0. Buffalo is now in first place. New Orleans has dropped to second. Man, I can't wait till you talk about that New Orleans Philly game, man, because that's, man. We have a surprise later at the end of the Bias Plus show, and you know what we like to pull out at the end. That don't sound right, do it? 27 point.
No Diddy.
Like we can't get any audience. All of a sudden, Mitchell says, "Pull it out." So there you go. 1 through 5, Buffalo, Saints, Minnesota, darn Sam Darnold, Arizona, and Washington are your top 5 scorers. So again, if Washington is in the negative with net points, didn't we see it in the negative with net points there?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, there they go, -3. So they've had some thrilling games. So yeah, Buffalo, the Saints, Minnesota, Arizona, Washington, Dallas. Dallas is still there in the scoring in fifth place, 26.3. Excuse me, that's Washington. Dallas is 25.7 in sixth place. Kansas City and Green Bay, winning, not lighting fires, but winning my Niners, putting up 24.3, tied with a division opponent naturally, right? Seattle. Baltimore, a little bit below us. And then Philly coming in 12th. They're in 23.7 for Baltimore, 0.3 for Philly. Cincinnati, the Jets, Tampa Bay, and Detroit round out the rest of the 13 through 16 at about 22.7 down to 20.7 points per game. So those are, and my magic number is right there where Minnesota is with 28 points per game. That's my magic number for playoff contention. On the left side or the right side, we have 17 through 25 there on the screen. Indianapolis, the Raiders, the Chargers, all tied at 19.3 points per game. So that's interesting company for the Chargers to be in right there. Rams at 19, Houston 18.3, Chicago 17, Denver 17.3, Chicago 17.7, so they're 22nd. Pittsburgh 17 points per game. So they're 3-0, scoring 17 points per game. We kind of pointed out a little bit about how their stats look in the Who Would Thunk It section. Cleveland, Atlanta, Carolina, Tennessee, the Giants, Jacksonville, the Patriots, and Miami. Who would have thought Miami would be at some point in 32nd place in scoring? There's a who would have thunk it for you right there, Benny.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Man, that's the challenge with paying, with those big contracts with your quarterback, putting all your eggs in that basket, Humpty Dumpty fall off the wall, you're done. Man. But I don't know if you want to talk about this later, but it was an intriguing thought that Russell Wilson could wind up in Miami.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that last week.
Did you?
I heard that last week. And in fact, people were were calling for Pittsburgh to make that move to offer him up.
Hey, look, Pittsburgh might be going by the old Barry Sterling Mitchell theory that you don't have two quarterbacks, you have none. But they're not paying anything out of pocket right now. That second season quarterback is costing them zilch. That's hard to give that deal up. That's a great deal for his deal.
Well, why not give it up if you actually get something for him? Get something for somebody you're not paying for.
You're going to have to get something that's worth way more than having a pretty competitive backup quarterback that's costing you nothing. I mean, that's a high value item. That's not just a cost. That's a high value item for the cost. So
having him hang around as a backup is asking for trouble, if you ask me. But that's another story.
Okay, all right. Well, here we have defense. Average points against. Pittsburgh is in first place. You gotta like them guys. Your boy B-Flow, right? Ryan Flores in second place, giving up 10 points per game.
That's right.
I'm hearing his name after you talked about him. I'm hearing his name on the airways more and more. They're getting coordinated some props, and he's big there. They're playing the Packers a little later. I talked to my son about it, So the question he had was if Malik Willis, well, I'm not sure the question was what for this game or for future games. But if Love was ready, would you play him, against Minnesota? Or to take it to the next question, if Willis played well against Minnesota and then Love was ready for the next game, would you sit Willis down? Because Minnesota's defense is so tough that if Willis came out and executed against that defense, that might change the computation there.
I don't think they're going to experiment with that. If they don't if they don't have to.
I
If
mean,
Love is ready, if Love is ready and he practices every day this week, they'll go with Love. If he can't go, if he can't get into full practice, if he's limited in any way, then they'll do what they have to do with confidence because Malik Willis has improved by leaps and bounds in a
now,
very short period of time.
oh, who's the guy, the rocket scientist? I can't remember who my own backup quarterback was, and what's the name? The rocket scientist guy.
Joshua Dobbs.
Joshua Dobbs. Yeah, Malik Willis is doing the Joshua Dobbs thing, man. He's competing with the rocket scientist there. So there's your top 5 defenses: Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Chargers, Seattle, and New Orleans. Going from 8.7, 10, 11, 14.3, and 14.7 for New Orleans. Round out the top 10, we have Denver, Buffalo, the Jets, Detroit, and New England tied with Chicago. Denver's 15.3, you have 16, the Jets and the Detroit 17.3, 17.7, and New England tied with Chicago at 19. Green Bay 19.3, they're in 12th place. So that's the top third or so. Indianapolis and Atlanta tied at 20.3, Tampa Bay and Kansas City round out top 15th and 16th at what's that, 20.7 points per game allowed. Philly starts off the other column, giving up 21 points a game, ranked 17th. Arizona and your New York Giants, 18th and 19th, giving up 21.3. Cleveland, 22.3. My Niners giving up 23 even. Miami giving up 24 and 22nd place. 23rd is Houston, 24.7. And Baltimore, 24th and 25th place, tied at 26 points per game allowed. So the bottom group giving up points here: Cincinnati, the Raiders, Jacksonville, Washington, Dallas, the Rams, and at the bottom, Carolina. That is an interesting group of teams right there. When we talked about Washington and we were saying how high they were on offense, and yet they were in the negative in net points, this is where it happens right here. This is where it happens. Defense is giving up some points. They got challenged, by the Bengals. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like they was up against some scrubs there. The Rams, Carolina. I'm just gonna let her try not to say Carolina. So there you go. Those are your points against. Last stat that we track.
So the first thing I noticed right off the bat is right at the top 3: Pittsburgh, Minnesota, and the Chargers. Last week, it was the same top 3, but it was the Chargers, Pittsburgh, and Minnesota. So Pittsburgh and Minnesota jumped up one slot apiece, and the Chargers dropped down to what? Third. Okay. So again, I don't want to use the word pretenders. I shouldn't. If I in fact said that, I shouldn't have said that. But let's face it. Their first 2 games were against the Raiders and the Panthers. So there's a bit of a skew there. Okay. And they have since dropped down. And I would expect them to probably drop a little lower in the next week or 2. Maybe not as far as, I'm not saying they're scrubs or anything, but for them to get out to a fast start absolutely had something to do with the first 2 teams that they played, offensively and defensively.
All right, Benny. Now, normally we do turnover differential. I'm going to leave that for people to go to Sterling, the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings Facebook page, where we'll have some more stats posted for you, which include the turnover differential. That's an important stat for us.